Welcome to our instructional video on the shell method. Previously, you learned of the disk and washer method, where you take the area under a curve or the area in between two curves and you rotate it to form a solid. Now, we'll teach you how to solve some trickier problems using the shell method. We'll show you the formulas necessary and how to apply them using practice problems. The shell method is similar to the disk and washer method, but it uses a few different formulas. So here we have the volume of a cylinder formula, and it's 2 pi r times h. Now, what we want to do is we want to translate that into an integral. So since the 2 pi is the constant, a constant can always be pulled out of the integral, so we're going to put it on this side of the integral, and we're going to add it back in at the end. So we have 2 pi, the integral from a to b, r, which is the p of x, and h, which is the h of x, and of course you have your dx. So now how do we find these parameters? Let's say we're rotating the graph of y equals root x about the line x equals 5 from 0 to 4. So what do? First we have to find our parameters, and they're given to us quite clearly from 0 to 4. That's the graph we're rotating. So it would be the integral from 0 to 4 of our radius, which is 5 minus this x, 5 minus x, times our height, which is changing at a rate of root x dx. Now what we want to do is we want to solve, we want to simplify. So after integrating, we get 2 pi times 5x minus x squared times 2/3 x to the 3 over 2. And we want to solve that from 0 to 4. So we plug in numbers, we simplify, we get 2 pi times 4 times 16 over 3. And then our final answer is 128 over 3 pi. So let's try a practice problem here. And we have our formula, and we'll be ready to set it up. So let's look at our practice problem. We have two lines. We have y equals 3x minus x squared, which we can see is this parabola, and we have x equals 0, which is the x-axis. Now, we want to find the area in between those two curves, and we want to rotate it about the y-axis. So let's see. Let's set up our problem. We have 2 pi times the integral from what to what. We have a and b, and we don't know either of these. So let's see. We can clearly see our first point is here, and that's 0. And our second point, we can see it crosses this right here, but we don't know what that is. Now, we can find that by solving this problem. So how do we make these two things equal to each other? Well, one answer would be 0, but we already have our 0. So the next best thing is 3. You can see 3 times 3 is 9, minus 3 squared, which is also 9, is 0. So it's from 0 to 3. Now, we need to find our height. So our height is changing at a rate of this parabola, which we already know is 3x minus x squared. So that's our height. Now, what's our radius? Since we are rotating around an axis connected to our parabola, our radius is just x. So multiply by x dx. Now, we have our integral. We just need to solve. So let's FOIL these two things and see what we get. So 3x times x is 3x squared minus x times x squared minus x cubed. So this we can insert here, and let's integrate this. So this would be x cubed, and this would be minus x to the 4th over 4. And this is just basic integration methods that we previously learned. And we don't want to forget, our 2 pi is still there, and this is solved from 0 to 3. Now that we have this, we just have to plug in a few numbers and find our solution. So if you want to pause the video here, try to plug in the numbers yourself, see what you get, feel free to do so, but I'm going to solve it right now. So we have our 2 pi times 3 cubed, what's 3 cubed? 27, minus 3 to the 4th, which is 81, over 4, and we have that, and then we have to plug in our zeros, but our zeros are coming out to 0, so it'll just be minus 0, which doesn't matter. So now we have to solve this. So we want to multiply 27 by 4, which would be 108. So we have 108 over 4 minus 81 over 4 times 2 pi. And I'm just getting rid of the minus 0 because it is 0. So now we want to subtract 81 from 108, which is 27. So our final answer would be 2 pi times 27 over 4. And if you want to simplify that even further, you can take out this 2, and that would be 54 over 4 pi. And that's our answer. Alright, let's try one more practice problem using the shell method we learned today. So for this problem, we're taking the line x equals y minus 2 squared and y equals x, and we're going to find the area in between those two lines and rotate it about the x-axis. Now you'll notice this equation looks a little bit different, and that's because it's in terms of y. So let's start setting up our equation. So 2 pi times the integral from, you can see here the points that intersect are 1, 1 and 4, 4. So it's from 1 to 4 of our p of y, our radius, which is just y since we're rotating around an axis, times our height, which is the area between that curve, which is y minus 2 squared. Right? And you don't want to forget your dy. Now all we have to do is integrate, and we'll have our solution. So before we integrate, I want to FOIL these two values and just have it basic integration. So y minus 2 squared is equal to y squared minus 4y plus 4. Right? So it would be y minus the quantity of this, all times y. Now, since it's the negative of the whole quantity, you have to distribute the negative to each value. So it would be y times y minus y squared plus 4y minus 4. And these two terms can be combined, so this would end up becoming y times negative y squared plus 5y minus 4. Right? And now you just multiply each value by y, and we'll have our basic integration. So it would be negative y cubed plus 5y squared minus 4y. And then you can just do the integral from 1 to 4 to pi dy. Right? So that is our basic integral. So now all we need to do is solve. So negative y cubed becomes y cubed over 3, or y to the 4th over 3, sorry, over 4. Where's my eraser? So this becomes y to the 4th over 4, and it's negative. And then this would be y cubed over 3, and since there's a 5 there, and this would be minus 2y squared. Now, we want to solve this from 1 to 4, and so we're just going to plug in both these values, and then the solution will multiply by 2 pi to get our answer. So, y to the 4th is 256, this would be negative 256 over 4, plus 4 cubed would be 64, 5 times 64 over 3, and negative 2y squared, that would be 4 squared is 16, that would be minus 32. Right, so that's our 4, and then we're going to subtract from this 4 our 1, so it would be negative 1/4, 5 over 3, plus 5 over 3, and then minus 2. Right, so we're subtracting this from this. Now, here we're going to pause the video, and if you want to just do this all on your own, you can use a calculator, do whatever you need, but I'm just going to solve this now. Alright, so your final answer should be 22.5 times pi. Because if you remember, we have our constant pi here, and we've got our 11.25 from that. And if you got that, good job. Thank you for watching our instructional video.